Alright everyone, good morning. We've reached Friday and we're firmly in the cup final mood now. My name is Hamish, as you know, and we're joined by Stevie as well. They're drinking something glorious. What are you drinking, Stevie?
On the hard stuff, tea, just a wee bit of milk, 2 tea bags. Oh yeah, beautiful. Is that is that terrorism? The fact that I have 2 tea bags, is that bad?
Not for me to say,
What did
but
what did the audience think? 2 tea bags, wee bit of milk. I like it very much like I like my podcast hosts, nice and strong. Wasn't weird at all, was it?
oh dear, that might get cut out, but we'll see. I'm not really a tea drinker, Stevie, I must say, more of a coffee man these days. Many of you may know that Melbourne has arguably the greatest coffee scene on the planet. I believe, and we're going way off topic here, please stick with us everyone. I believe that it's the largest city in the world that doesn't have a chain as the kind of predominant coffee place. I've worded that horrendously, but
I know
basically
what you mean. I know what you mean.
Starbucks isn't the biggest coffee kind of thing here. It's all local places. So riveting chat. Anyway,
Coffee AM.
yes, okay, right, great chat. Are folks still with us, do you think? Right, we can chat about a few things today. I was planning on doing a video yesterday, Stevie, but things got in the way. I had loads of graphics that I made up, so I want to just get them out of the way early doors. Wee bit of chat in the Champions League. We can maybe discuss the Zagreb game for a little bit. We did do this week's gig pod as well. Is that out already?
Aye, you should see if you subscribe to it, mate. You should already know it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Everyone,
Hamish. Thanks for outing yourself.
Gig pod's out if you want more from me and Stevie. Right, Champions League table. And I've done a wee bit of coding here as well, Stevie. So that is what it is. Celtic 21st after the match day 6 fixtures. The one team, Liverpool at the top with a wee yellow marker next to them. That means that they have already secured top 8 football. You've then got 12 teams below that. 13 teams below that actually, with the wee green marker next to them. They are all guaranteed to be inside the top 24, so you can forget about all of them. And conversely, the 4 teams at the bottom, including 3 teams that we've played, or well, 2 we've played and 1 we will play, with the red markers, they are all out of the running for the top 24. So basically, you're looking at they're Celtic on 9 points, comfortably inside the top 24 at the moment. And I think the feeling is that on 9 points, another point that takes us to 10 may well be enough, Stevie. But certainly beating Young Boys in match day 7 and getting to 12 points will mean that we're all well and good for that. And basically we need to finish ahead of 12 teams there on the league table. It's as simple as that. As I say, we already know those 4 at the bottom can't finish ahead of us. There's 4 teams there in 3 points that are almost certainly not going to finish ahead of us. They would need to win both their games and hope that we lose them, etc. There's also Shakhtar and Sparta on 4 points. They would need to win both of their games, which is unlikely. Sparta have Inter and Leverkusen. Shakhtar have Brest and Dortmund. So already there, I reckon there's 10 teams that we can pretty confidently say won't be finishing ahead of Celtic. So we only really need to find another 2. As we know, Dinamo Zagreb need to win one of their final 2 games. They have Arsenal away, AC Milan at home, so it looks difficult for them. And even Paris Saint-Germain and Man City, who are both behind us, play each other in the next match day. So basically, Stevie, what I'm saying is, despite Tuesday night not being a great game, I think we should all feel very good about Celtic's chances of making the top 24, especially when we have Young Boys at Celtic Park and they are the worst team in the tournament at the moment. And you saw what we did to Slovan Bratislava. So what are you thinking?
Oh, they're terrible. We should beat them. I mean, I'd be mortified if we didn't beat them. And it's very unlike me to go into one of these European games with all Bosch Flimshaw and being bullish about it. But I think the reality is, you look at those stats, minus 19, 0 points, 6 straight defeats. They're not a Champions League side. We've arguably proved that we've got the chops to handle it in this competition. They do not. We should definitely be aiming to beat them. None of this, we just need a point for 10. We should be looking to get 12 points there. That's what I'm looking at doing. Sure, the manager will be thinking the same, but we should be looking to go beat them. Final game at Celtic Park, and do you know what I like about it? Definitely achievable. That every game at Celtic Park in this Champions League run, unbeaten. And that, if you remember, we did all those videos at the very start of the season when the draw was made. That was what I personally wanted to aim for. I don't think Celtic really cared about my wishes and hopes, but I wanted Celtic Park to be a place that was hard to go again for other teams. Seen it so often, it's like a day out, like a tourist trap for other fans, and turn and look at all the brilliant lights. Oh, look at that, an easy wee 3 points, brilliant. Oh, but they never walk alone, amazing, great. And then they upload all the photos. You feel patronised, and it's almost like, is this it? Is this what Celtic Park has became in this season? Right, granted, we've been up against a very, very poor... There'll be two very poor sides we're up against. I would say Leipzig are a good team. We happen to get them at a time and they now are playing pretty poorly, but they will be back in a couple of seasons. It's what they do, isn't it? They seem to yo-yo, and Bruges have proved they're a very good team. They came to Celtic Park and were arguably a better side for a bit of an hour. And you saw them against Sporting beating a very good side the other night. They're excellent in the fact that we we rallied, persevered, and got a point against them when on another night we would have lost like that easy. So yeah, I'm encouraged for what I've seen there, and I'd like this would be real progress this season. What we did say, the bare minimum after that draw was made, make that top 24. A point will do it, but a win will definitely do it, and that's what you've got to be aiming for. And I'm sure that's what the team and the manager will be hoping for. And it'll be a great way to seal it with a convincing win, or even just as I say, if it's even as unconvincing as possible, whatever. Just get the 3 points, get to 12 points, and make sure that's definitely solidified. And you know what, we get the win as well. Who knows what type of teams will be up above, and might even get that's what you've got to be looking at as well. We get that point, and then it's fair to say Aston Villa, that's going to be a very, very difficult game. They're a top side, and then you're up against one of the top half sides, and I think that's on a two-legger. Very, very difficult. We finish in the top 9, if you get me, then you never know. We could, face a weaker side or just a team that are struggling now. And if I'm not even going to mention the names actually of certain teams that are struggling and jinx it. But you know what I'm talking about. There's sides there that you would think are the big dogs in Europe, but they're going through some terrible, terrible form now. And in a one-off game, certainly at Celtic Park anyway, anything's possible in the way we are playing. I wouldn't put it past us at Celtic Park to get a result, and then maybe get one of the horrible stuffy results away from home that I've been bemoaning all week.
Well, that's as a Celtic fan in Europe. Obviously, Tuesday night, I think we all wanted to try and win that game, and it was a bit of a missed opportunity. But if you look at it, like, what do you want from Celtic? Get those kind of results away from home, and get the results we've been getting in general at home, and you're going to be absolutely fine. Just to round off this wee section, this was the latest from the Legends Football Meets Data based on 10,000 simulations. This is as of 11th of December, as they say, so after all of the Champions League matches this midweek. And yeah, that's just basically stick to the light blue and the points required for certain finishes. So at the moment we're in 9 points. Stevie, if we were to lose our last 2 games, they reckon we'd have a 27% chance on average of making it. Although our goal difference is quite good, so it might actually be higher than that. Our goal difference is 0, which is actually good. Most teams around us are kind of minus or whatever. If we do get another point, they reckon the chances go up to 79%. But clearly, if you get to 12 points or 11 with a couple of draws, your chances go up to like absolute near certainties. So that's all positive. Just the final wee graphic that took me ages to make. You were chatting about the knockout rounds. I've had a few people asking exactly, how are the knockout rounds going to work, and I think this explains it a little bit. It's basically there's no draw. Well, there is a draw, but there's not a draw like you'll remember it in previous years. It's kind of all mapped out. Stevie, one of your favourite phrases, and a bit, as I always say, a bit like a tennis tournament. You've kind of got the seedings there, and basically you're in pairs with the team that finishes next to you. So we're in 21st at the moment, and basically what happens, you're then paired with the team that's in 22nd, which is Man City at the moment. That doesn't mean we'd play Man City though. We then face either 11th or 12th in the table, which at the moment happens to be Atletico Madrid or AC Milan. Obviously, this is all likely to change, but that gives you a wee idea of who we could face. And then if you were to then win your knockout playoff, you'd go on and play like 5th or 6th, which is Aston Villa or Inter. So it gets pretty tough pretty quickly. But to be honest, Stevie, I think if we just make it through the league phase, top 24, I think anything after that is a bonus. That was the big target this year, and I think we're on track to do it. Okay, Champions League chat over with. I noticed we've not even touched on the Zagreb game because it was just horrendous, wasn't it?
Aye, it was, and to be honest,
okay, that's enough. We won't bother.
Just about to say, if we talked about that, well, I'll definitely fall asleep considering the time here, mate. So let's skip it.
Okay, Thursday night, I saw Johnny Kenny had scored a double for Shamrock Rovers. Bit of chat about him last week, potentially making the step up. They were playing, let me get this right, the might of Borac. Artur Borac, some would maybe say. Johnny Kenny got a wee double. Shamrock Rovers 6th in the table. The other big game that was... Sorry?
I was just going to say Borac, good film, I like that one.
The other game that was going on that people may have been interested in for various reasons, our opponents in Sunday, Rangers up against our former manager and former goalkeeper, Ange Postecoglou, Fraser Forster, Tottenham Hotspur. Interesting game that as well. Spurs are pretty poor at the moment. I don't think Rangers were particularly great in that game either.
I think a draw was probably a fair result watching that one. I did say to you on GigPod that the Sunday's game will really be determined on what the result's going to be like tonight. And yeah, I think Rangers will probably, well, I mean, I say probably, the chances are you go and see what their fans are saying, and I'm 99% convinced that they will be all up for it and pretty much saying that Sunday they make themselves out to be favourites and probably really strongly fancy it. And that suited us in the past, because this has happened plenty of times in the past. We've seen Rangers come off a strong result in Europe, or just a very good result in midweek or previously before they play us. There's all this bluster and bravado, and then of course what happens is our winners actually go and win. So hopefully we see that again on Sunday. I think it's going to be a difficult game though. I think there's not going to be any of this turn up and just, play half-arsed and win. I don't think we can afford to have like maybe one or two players off it. I think every player's going to have to be right on their game. And I know we've carried certain players in midweek. Certainly carried a couple of midfielders in midweek, and certainly a left back of ours. I think there has to be way more improved performances from them if we are to be champions and win that cup on Sundays, because I think Rangers will be massively up for it. I think they will be all rallying around for that one. But I am also confident in us for the fact that I do believe we've got a better manager than them. I think Brendan Rodgers has proved it. You looked at the games last season and even this season, completely outclassed Philip Clement. And there's a lot of pressure on this one, on Philip Clement, because I think their fans are now looking for him to sort of deliver in one of these games. There was all this talk about it last season. Didn't happen for them. Like when they did that Scottish Cup, there was this big ultimatum from their fans that, this is a game that he has to get right if they're going to go on with him next season. We know what happened. He'd have scored. They gave him a pre-season, gave him more chances, and I think this is the one here where I think Clement's going to be under massive pressure. I think there's obviously pressure on Brendan Rodgers too, but the key difference is there that he's used it. Brendan Rodgers has seen these games time after time. He's navigated them, sometimes very effortlessly too. So that's the key. That's the one thing that gives me confidence, the fact that we've got a top-class manager who will prepare for this game as best as he can with the squad that he's got. And of course, there's no major injury concerns as well going into this type of game.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers still never lost at Hampden, has he? And Callum McGregor has that brilliant finals record through all the ages as well of, I think, winning every final he's ever played in. So things like that fill you with confidence. I think Rangers are clearly in a better place than they were a few weeks ago. I think a few weeks ago, as they were kind of falling apart in a few games, drew at home to Dundee United, lost to Kilmarnock. There was another few games I saw them and they were really struggling, and you were just thinking it was Aberdeen, wasn't it, where they lost that, and you were just looking ahead to the cup final thinking it probably would be a pretty routine victory. They've clearly picked up a fair bit. Their support seemed to be back on board with the manager, which, kind of sums them up. What is it? Boom or bust approach you say they've got, which I think is totally fair. And if we do manage to win on Sunday, it'll be they'll be back to calling for Philippe Clement to leave. If they find a way to win, they'll probably be calling him the best manager they've ever had. So that sums up how they are. What is it that, having watched them against Spurs, what is it that kind of, where do the dangers come from, do you think?
I think I worry about our left back. I worry about Greg Taylor, and I worry about us playing him. I think he's been going through some pretty poor form now. I'm aware that he played an excellent pass for Hatate against Aberdeen, and I gave him credit for that. But defensively, I think he's been really suspect for us. His distribution has been terrible. And watching Rangers, especially tonight, but even in the last few games, like it or not, Czerny, I believe, is a very good player. Real danger man for them. He's quick. He's got good feet. And I think he's the type of player that I think Taylor will struggle with. Now, I know in the 3-0 game, one of our mates said that obviously Taylor had him in his pocket, but I think that was Czerny's only second game or third game or something for them. And even at that time, their fans wrote him off. But he's undoubtedly come onto a game for them. Maybe he's been probably one of the reasons that they have been so optimistic recently. And I just feel that, if this was the Taylor of a couple of seasons ago, I wouldn't be that stressed out or worried about him, because I think I had so much faith in Taylor, but his game's dropped off completely. Lost a lot of composure. And I think that's a position that we're certainly an area that I think that they might get some joy from, and that's something that worries me. Obviously in midfield as well, when I've been pretty critical of Real Hatate, especially when we were talking the other night, Hamish, and it's one of these games when he's not going to get a lot of time in the ball. He's been loving, that extra 3 or 4 seconds on it and getting caught out time after time. And I'm not just saying in Europe, I'm talking about in the basic league games as well. Up until he scored against Aberdeen, Hatate was always getting the ball pinched off him, and it was almost like he was putting himself under pressure with how often he was holding on to it. Can he be doing that on Sunday? He just can't be. So yeah, that I'll come on to the positives and where I think our match winners can come from, but that's just my opinions on the weaknesses in our team now.
But I think it's interesting there, and we can discuss the points you've made, but I think it's interesting that your comments there are more based on Celtic players, maybe a few players not quite being at their top level in recent weeks, rather than, and I know you mentioned Czerny. Personally, he's not a player who strikes massive fear into me. I don't think he's actually that quick, personally. I think he's quite one-dimensional. Decent player, but I don't think he's anything more. But I think it is interesting that your kind of maybe slight fears for the game would come from our players that aren't playing as well. So would you play, would you start either of Taylor or Hatate?
I think you've got to start Hatate based on how poor Engels has been recently and how much he's not the fact that he's not affected any games. He said
Luke McCowan's not available for the game.
It's a sore one. We talked about that too. McCowan would be my starting lineup for this type of game. I think he would thrive in this atmosphere against this type of opponent. I think he wouldn't let us down. So I think Hatate will, purely based on the fact that, again, we're talking historically about what he's done in the past and what he can be like against Rangers, even though we last really seen that back in February 2023. And yeah, for Taylor as well, I'd probably start Vi, to be honest, but I think Taylor will get a nod. But I would probably start Vi for it, just purely based on how quick he is compared to Taylor, and he's got better recovery pace than Greg Taylor.
Did Vi not struggle a bit at Aberdeen though, in quite a big atmosphere? And I like Vi generally, but I don't see the huge gulf between Taylor and Vi yet. I'm yet to see it. I don't think Taylor's been horrendous. I don't think he's playing particularly well at the moment, but I think if Vi was like this amazing alternative, I think he would probably be a guaranteed starter in these big games, but the manager still goes with Greg Taylor.
I understand. I'm just going with the recovery pace option where, and
Yeah,
by the way, you're saying Aberdeen, but it was a chronic game of football, and I don't
yeah.
think anybody get past marks. The conditions were all over the place, and I take your point. Taylor actually came on and did change it, so I'm not writing the guy off completely, and I can give credit where it's due. But I've also got to, the games that I watch, I've got to fairly criticise, and I can't be a happy clapper and just say, "Oh, Taylor did that against Aberdeen. Let's start him. He might just do the same thing again." When he's been on the ball, he's been really poor, makes terrible decisions, and when that ball goes in behind him, I think he's looking slower. He's looking, whereas Vi, when I saw a couple of times against Aberdeen, I think the first half Duke did him, but then after it, Duke tried it another couple of times, and Vi's recovery pace was excellent to intercept. So I'm just going with that too, but I still reckon it will be Taylor, to be honest, despite all my pleas here.
I think it'll be Taylor as well, and I think the midfield will be Hatate, Bernardo, McGregor. Could well be the same team as we saw against Zagreb. To be honest, I think that would be the same team as Zagreb because the rest of the team's pretty nailed on. I would say. I mean, I was kind of thinking potentially, like, would you look at someone like Adam Ida? Because I don't think Kyogo's playing that well. But then you look at Kyogo's record, A against Rangers and B at Hampden, and it's just you have to start Kyogo.
No, you've got to start him. Adam Ida thrives on the substitute role. I think that's what he excels at. I thought Adam Ida against Hibs was fairly ineffective. Wasn't great when he came on against Zagreb, but it's just one of the games where I
He's
think
looking better than Kyogo now. I think at the
I don't know.
moment Kyogo's struggling a bit.
But then he scored that amazing goal last week. You know what I mean? Against Hibs. Adam Ida's never going to do that. Whereas, the goal that he scored against Hibs was genuinely unreal. And look, he's going to potentially now, I think they might have Suter out for it. He's going to be up against Balogun, who is approaching 37. Fairly, I know he's deceptively quick for a 37-year-old, but that proper, I just don't think would fancy it up against Furuhashi at all. And then see if even he is struggling. Somebody like Ida coming on psychologically as well would be a hammer blow for them because a lot of the players would remember what he did against them as well. Remember, so
Aye.
I think
you
Ida.
touched. It's on you.
No, I was just saying I think Ida would definitely be best coming on for that game.
I think you touched on quite an important thing there. Like the benches, I think are going to be quite important. Just looking at the Rangers bench from the Spurs game last night, and I think generally a lot of players there that wouldn't get anywhere near our 25 if we've even got a 25. I mean, their subs were Balogun, Barron, Sterling, and Sterling might well start the game. And then you get Fraser and Dessers, and then the rest of their subs were Kelly, King, Cortez, Dowell, Rice, Curtis, and McCausland. And you compare that to the 5 subs we can make every match, and like we've got like players like Alex Valle a lot of the time don't even get on the pitch, or James Forrest doesn't get on the pitch, or even guys like Yang who would probably be in the running to start for Rangers. So I think that's a big part of the game on Sunday for me. Just generally, I'm feeling all right about this. I think it's going to be a tough game. The recent games at Hampden against them have all been really tight. They've all been nervy. They've had their moments in them. But I just back this Celtic team more than I back Rangers in these tight games. I just think we've got what it takes. We know we know how to get over the line in these games with that extra bit of quality. And I think our defence now is really strong as well. Like I think in the past there's always maybe in these games been a feeling that we've got a weakness there. And I take your point about Greg Taylor, but I think the Celtic defence is looking as strong as it's looked for a while. And obviously if you keep a clean sheet, you back us to score at least one up the other end. So I think we're going to win on Sunday. I don't think it's going to be like a 3-0 or anything like that, but I feel like we have this debate before every single derby now. Every single derby there's the same debate, or like, will it be a 3-0 or will we just win? And it's a great debate to have because it shows the position we're at. But I've generally, Rangers, decent team on a bit of an upward curve, but I just think we're better in every department. And as you mentioned, that includes the manager. Brendan Rodgers is miles clear of Philippe Clement.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is looking at the spine of the team. We've got a guy like Kasper Schmeichel, and this guy has been magnificent for us recently. and you look at the centre-half pairing of Trusty and Cameron Carter-Vickers, both of them really understanding. They formed a great partnership. The two of them have been involved, just keep a clean sheet in Europe there. And then we've got Callum McGregor, serial winner. Then you'll go for the Hashy up front, a guy that scores for fun in these big games. And then you look at Rangers' spine, the likes of Butland, then you've got Balogun proper. The midfield, I'm going to assume I don't know who you would say there, because I don't know who their standout midfielder would be.
So
Raskin, Diomande.
Who will start? Raskin will start Diomande. Who else started tonight for them in midfield?
Was it Barami, I think?
Right, okay. Probably be similar then. I thought he was a left winger.
Aye, me too. That shows how much great researchers we are about this all-conquering Rangers side, Hamish. But then up front as well.
It was Barami. They had like Yilmaz playing left wing.
Yeah.
And then obviously Yefty at left back.
And then, up front, they get a guy like Dessers who seems to do all the hard stuff, but he's a
don't think he'll start though, will he?
Yeah, brutal finisher.
Igamani,
who, granted, seems like he's got a bit of potential, but up against CCV and Trusty, I think he'll have his work cut out for him big time. So yeah, I look at our spine, I look at their spine, and we're just riddled with winners and experience of doing it and winning in big games, not making excuses. And most importantly, we've got CCV's won plenty at Hampden, as has Callum McGregor, and Kyogo Fudashi's actually been responsible for winning the last two League Cup finals we've been in at Hampden, Hibs and Rangers, of course. So you've got to back us. You'd be an absolute mug if you were looking at the last couple of weeks and us. Still, by the way, for the record, right, everybody is talking up Rangers now in the media, but while Celtic might not have been playing great, we're still winning. We're still getting results. We're still top of the league. We're 11 points clear. So, that's got to be taken into consideration. See if we were playing terrible, but we weren't getting results. We were drawing games and we were losing from winning positions and, really struggling to get over the line, like even beating Hibs like 1-0 or something. But that's not the case. We're still scoring plenty. Even if our guys like Maeda and Kuhn aren't firing the now, we're still getting goals for all over the park. You know what I mean? So I'm not getting into the game, Hamish, worried. I'm not getting into the game stressing out. I think it'll be a nerve-wracking game. I think it'll be tight. And of course, it's not going to be a case of turning up and win. But I do have faith in us as well. And just when I think the midfield is starting, I've already mentioned McGregor getting away for Hatate, but I just want to say Paulo Bernardo, I think he's been outstanding for us recently. He was brilliant, and I mean absolutely brilliant against Zagreb, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. He's got to be starting on Sunday because Paulo Bernardo, as we have said on this channel a few times now, when he plays against Rangers, he takes it up another level. I think his performance in the 3-0 game in September was one of the all-time derby greats, and I'm not saying that it's not like recency bias for me. You know what I'm like for it. I hate it. But his performance was absolutely amazing in that 3-0 game. And we've got to, hope he can take that style of play into this type of match because he's developing into a big game player for us.
Yeah, he's playing so well. He's going to start on Sunday as well, and I'm delighted about that. He's really protecting the ball well, isn't giving it away. He looks so strong, like players are bouncing off him, but he's deceivingly quick as well. And he's taking on a bit more responsibility. I know he didn't score that free kick the other night, but I loved the fact that he took it. Maybe this time last year, I don't know, maybe necessarily wouldn't have gone for that, but he's clearly confident at the moment. So that's great. And yeah, like Celtic aren't struggling at the moment. I don't kind of really understand where this notion is coming from that we're going through like a bad patch. Maybe it's just because they've been so unbelievable all season. At the minute the performances drop off a little bit, but you look at recent games results wise, Dynamo 0, Celtic 0, a point away from home in the Champions League. We beat Hibs 3-0. We go to Aberdeen, our nearest challengers, win that, great result. 5-0 against Ross County, draw with Bruges in the Champions League, beat Hearts 4-1 away, beat Killie 2-0 away, beat Leipzig, beat Aberdeen 6-0. We're on a good run of form still. And I hope that people, that's just kind of the way the world is now, or the way Scottish football is, that it always seems like Rangers are being hyped up and we are just kind of taken for granted. But this Celtic team is the best in Scotland by a mile, and I hope we see it on Sunday. Just remembered we've got a few comments, Stevie, so I'll do these quickly. I know you want to your bed. I did say John was going to join us. John obviously isn't here, you might have noticed, so it's just me and Stevie. There were a couple of things for John. Bowman, given Hatate's on again, off again performances, believe he should ride the pine behind Bernardo, Engels and McCowan when he is not cup tied. Interesting. He's demoting Hatate to our fifth choice.
Real Hatate's lawyers has just instructed me not to say anything else about him. Nothing negative.
Okay. Well, on a similar note, Harry, can we have a one-day Engels amnesty? It's been tedious beyond belief, the online chat about him at the moment. Have we honoured that? Have we spoken? You did mention Engels, Stevie.
Who?
Unfortunately.
Who? I don't know who you're talking
Correct. Right, Cal Tracker, I always butcher that name. Just a quick one, because I've not stopped thinking about this recently. Do you think getting results against Bruges, Bratislava and Dinamo Zagreb will help us get an idea of what we need to do to qualify for the Champions League next season? It is actually a thought that I've kind of come across. We're going to have Champions League qualifiers next season if we win the league. Almost certainly. I think there is some way where we could get automatic entry, but we'd need like 7 or 8 teams ahead of us all not to win the league. So it's going to be, I think, one round of qualifying, Stevie. It's obviously a wee bit in the distance, but you would think, based on the way we've played this season in Europe, that we should be able to get through a round of qualifying.
Depends what players we lose as well in the summer and who we recruit. So I've got to say, just very quickly, I haven't thought of that personally, but it's a good question, but I haven't thought of it simply because I'm too invested and focused on this one now.
Okay.
It sounds like I'm the manager here, for Christ's sake.
Bubba Santos, is it John that does the Flashback Football channel? It sounds just like him, but I'm not 100% sure. It's been bugging me for the good part of a year. I need to know. It's not John. I have heard this channel. It's a guy who sounds a bit like John, but unless John is doing that on the side and not telling us, Stevie, he's never mentioned the Flashback Football channel, but I guess we've just got them a few new viewers. And final one here relating to Sunday. Nobody I've spoken to this week, this is from GR, seems to be taking seriously the prospect of losing on Sunday. I think it's a real possibility given our recent performances. What impact, if any, would losing on Sunday have? And do you think it would influence title race momentum? Certainly to your second point, no. I just think we're too far clear already. And even if we lost on Sunday, I think Celtic would pick themselves back up and certainly win the league.
I think it would have a big impact.
Do you?
Aye, I wouldn't go to the pub, so I'd be able to buy more people Christmas presents.
Great stuff. Do you think it's a real possibility given our recent performances? I just think it's always a possibility, but I think we're favourites, and I just think we'll be all right on Sunday. I think as I've already covered, I think we've got better players, better manager, and players who turn up when it really matters, and we know our rivals struggle with that.
Yeah, you've made that's a good point. It always is a possibility. Like losing to Hibs at home was a possibility, and losing during the week was a possibility. Like, Celtic aren't guaranteed to just go up and turn up and win every game. We've got to play pretty well. We've got to have the majority of players putting in 100% at all times, and Sunday is going to require every player to be completely on it if we want to be winning that cup.
John O'Neill sent in a big question as well, just touching basically on Real Hatate, saying he's a little fed up of Real Hatate. So we've kind of covered that. I think, John, you'll agree, Stevie mentioned Hatate a fair bit earlier on. So thanks everyone for your questions, much appreciated. Anything else, Stevie? You looking forward to Sunday? Sorry, should be good.
Saturday will be good. I'll be hungover, just lying on the couch for my work night sit. But yeah, Sunday will be good. As I say, Sunday. All I would hope is that it's nothing like that final me and you attended February 2023. We've talked about how we won it, but how sore were our heads after it, and it was nothing to do with the drink. The game was murder in terms of just how stressful it was, wasn't it? So I hope it's nothing like that. And even at that, the Chris Julian one, I'm thinking back at that, like, that was brutal as well. But yet the main thing is, here I am saying I hope it's nothing like this, and I hope it's, and yet we won both games. So maybe in a way I hope It is
Cup
like that.
final was brutal, the one just there, and we won that. And we had the semi-final where I remember Rangers being pretty strong in the second half and creating some chances, hitting the post, etc. That was pretty brutal as well, but again, we won. Like I just think that's the common theme. It might be kind of nervy on Sunday. I think Rangers are going to have chances, but I think we'll win, and that's all that matters.
We'll have chances too, so
yeah,
don't worry about that.
Okay, off to your bed then, Stevie. Thanks very much for coming on and chatting.
No worries. Thanks, Da.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm going to do a video tomorrow, Saturday morning, just because I didn't manage one yesterday, just to make up for lost time. So, I don't know. I guess we'll have the press conferences to talk about then. If you have any more comments on the game, how you feeling ahead of it, let me know, and I'll bring them up on screen as well. And then I think Stevie's going to join me after the game on Sunday as well. So that's all well and good.
We'll only join you if we win the cup.
Okay, is that the deal then?
That should be the deal. But nobody wants to see my face if we don't win that cup, so that should be the deal.
Okay. Just finally, and I've not done this in a wee while, if you are enjoying our content, and like me, like Stevie, like John, like Asim, like Enda, whoever else, please would you mind subscribing to the channel? It costs you absolutely nothing, and we are trying to go for 12,000 as soon as possible. And if you subscribe, Celtic might win on Sunday. Just click that wee button in the middle of your screen now. It's very easy. Thanks, everyone.